Sorry about that. Okay, so we're recording and we'll send out the recording and notes after the session. And during the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to add them into the chat box. Some of my colleagues are going to be monitoring the chat box and answering questions that they can. But if there are any remaining questions, I'll pause at the end of my presentation to answer those. First off, I'll say if your market or farm or site doesn't already have EBT access, we have a lot of resources for you on our website, ecologycenter.org/EBT. It's a step-by-step guide to walk you through the process of adding EBT access. And you can always reach out to us with your questions. Today, I'll tell you a bit about us, the Ecology Center, briefly about EBT, and we'll delve into identifying and addressing barriers to shopping at farm direct sites for customers with EBT, including assessing your community, increasing awareness, some operational suggestions, incentive programs. And then we'll have time at the end to break out into discussion groups so you can share some questions, challenges, ideas with each other. And then at the end, we'll come together and share. All right, so a bit about us. The Ecology Center is located in Berkeley, California. And our mission is to inspire a sustainable, healthy, and just future for the East Bay, California, and beyond. And we have several program areas, including zero waste, sustainable living, food and farming, and climate action. And my program, specifically the Farmers Market Access and Equity Program, striving to provide healthy food access through our EBT program, Market Match, incentive program, and the Farmers Market Finder database. And just a bit about me, I've been helping farm direct sites add EBT for the past couple of years. And the Ecology Center as a whole has been doing so since the transition from food stamps to the EBT card in 2003. And while I have a lot of experience making farmers markets more accessible, I also want to honor all of the expertise that you all are bringing here today. So like I said, for the first 30 minutes, I'll be giving you suggestions that we've collected from over the years on how to make your site more accessible. And then for 20 minutes, we'll be able to talk in breakout rooms. So you'll all be able to share your ideas and expertise. So I look forward to learning from you as well. All right, so I have a couple poll questions to start with. The first one you should see pop up on your screen. I just would like to know what type of sites do you run? Okay, so I'll just give you a minute to answer. Looking like majority farmers markets. Quite a few other types of sites too. Awesome. Okay, and I'm gonna end that poll. And I'll just share the results so y'all can see too. So yeah, mostly farmers markets, but got some CSAs, farm stands, a couple mobile markets, and some other types of sites. So that's awesome. Okay, and then my second question is, how long have you had EBT access at your site? And I have the option to say my site is not EBT authorized yet. So all right, looks like we have a pretty good mix again. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll and I'll just share so you can see. So quite a few of you don't have EBT yet. That's no problem. I think you'll still have a lot to learn here today. And hopefully those of you with some more experience can share your expertise as well. Okay, awesome, thank you. And then my last question is, what brought you to this workshop today? So feel free to take a moment to write into the chat box just a brief sentence about what brought you to this workshop. So learn more about best practices. Oh, want to offer organic produce to EBT recipients. That's great. Contactless EBT. Cool. Okay, some people just wanting to learn how to add EBT. Great. Awesome, well, thank you. So yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna be covering in detail the process of adding EBT today, but we have a lot of resources on our website and can offer one-on-one assistance with that as well. So for those of you newer to EBT, I'll just give a brief background about it. So the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, is known as CalFresh in California and was formerly called food stamps. And it provides low-income families and individuals with money to spend on food. The term that's probably most commonly used to refer to CalFresh or SNAP is EBT, which stands for Electronics Benefits Transfer. And that refers to the card that is loaded with the nutrition benefits. And just like other social safety net programs like Social Security or Medicaid, CalFresh helps relieve the financial burden on families and frees up money they typically spend on food for other needs. And CalFresh provides over 4 million Californians an average of $166 for food each month. They can swipe this card like a debit card to purchase eligible foods at participating outlets. And eligible foods include basically any food that isn't a hot prepared food meant to immediately eat. Okay, so I'm going to delve into identifying and addressing barriers for customers shopping with EBT. So the best way to identify and address, unique barriers in your specific community is to do a bit of research. If you haven't already, I'm sure many of you have already, in starting your farmers market, have done some research in your community. But some questions to consider when you're doing research, talking to community members and organizations are what percentage of your community members have CalFresh, and what percentage of your customers are using CalFresh. And if there's a big discrepancy between those two numbers, you could explore why that is. Do you have multilingual language at your site? And if there are languages other than English that are commonly spoken in your community, do you have any staff or volunteers or vendors that speak those languages? How did you choose your operating hours, and would shifting your hours allow for more community members to access your site? And then it's also good to know what public transportation options exist for accessing your site. So I know market managers often wear many hats, and most of you probably don't have a lot of time to do extra research and assessment. So I highly recommend leveraging your community connections to gain insights. Consider partnering with local social service agencies and community organizations and leaders to help gather information about the needs of low-income community members. And I have a list here on this slide of potential organizations that you could connect with, and this is not exhaustive. So feel free, if you have any additional organizations or connections that you've made, feel free to add those to the chat. Awesome. So after assessing your community, you'll have a better sense of what unique needs there are, and be better equipped to make changes that will improve access to your site. So some common barriers for customers with EBT include awareness of the Farm Direct site and awareness that EBT is accepted there. The hours or location and convenience of shopping at the site, the price or perception of price, lack of transportation, and language barriers. And feel free to add to the chat any other barriers that you see at your site or expect to see. So we'll go into how you can address some of those common barriers. First and foremost is to spread the word about your EBT offering. We recommend including on all of your printed materials that, like, we gladly accept EBT or we welcome EBT. Put up ample signage on site to direct customers where to go to spend their EBT. We encourage you to write it on your website, post about it on social media, include it in your newsletters. A tip is to include the image of the CalFresh card because that is easily recognizable, especially for people who might speak English as second language. And then again, word of mouth is really important. So leveraging your community connections. And this is especially important for maybe more rural communities that don't use social media or don't have reliable internet access. You'll want to reach out to local social service agencies, food banks, schools, and any other community-based organizations to let them know that you accept EBT. And then we recommend using bilingual materials when it's appropriate, and also trying to use easy to understand terminology. So for those of you who run a CSA, that might be not a very common word for many people. So maybe you might market your CSA as like a veggie box subscription, or a term that you find to be understandable in your community. And I just have a couple examples to show. On the left is a example Facebook post, North Coast Growers Association shout out. They're boosting their market and also including in their post that they accept EBT. And then Amador Farmers Market's website, it's right in the description, at the end of the description, we accept WIC and SNAP. And then they even have the WIC logo and the SNAP logo and a big we accept EBT, making it really clear. And then here's some on-site signage examples. It's great. I love this, the banner in the middle, really big, directing people to the information booth where they can swipe their EBT card. And again, it's great if you're able to have bilingual materials in languages that are commonly spoken in your community. All right, so I'm going to go into some operation suggestions to improve convenience and clarity for customers using EBT. You'll want to explain how the process works on your website and in person. So I just have some example language up here, just basically making it really clear the steps that a customer who wants to use their EBT card should take. You'll want to make sure that all of your staff, volunteers, and vendors are well trained to assist customers who want to use their EBT. A friendly and positive experience can really go a long way for making customers feel welcome and deciding on whether they feel comfortable enough to shop at your site again. And then if you run a farmer's market, a more hands-on and maybe more involved approach would be to look into hiring a market navigator to help people who want to use their nutrition assistance benefits at the market, kind of help them give a tour through the market and explain the process. I'll just note that one of our market match partners was able to get funding for a market navigator through a partnership with CalFresh Healthy Living. And I have an email up on the slide so you can reach out to the CalFresh Healthy Living office and see if there are any opportunities for partnership in your area. And another thing you might consider is giving market tours. And that would be helpful for, not just people who want to use their EBT, but people who may have never shopped at a farmer's market before and just are unfamiliar with how it works. So that would be really helpful in making your community feel welcome. And here I have some example signage. The first one on the left here, it's great. It's in 2 different languages, has the picture of the EBT card, even has a little image of the tokens like at a farmer's market that you would spend with vendors. And then the one in the middle explains what customers can purchase with their EBT tokens. And the one on the left, again from NCGA, bilingual, shows a picture of what the tokens look like. And that could be put up at a vendor booth so they know that they could spend those tokens with that specific vendor. I'll just note that the two on the left are available for download for free on our website, so you could print those on your own. So if you have an online ordering system for your site, you'll want to make sure to think through how someone using EBT would place an order. Currently, there's no way for smaller vendors to accept CalFresh payment online. You'll want to allow these customers to place an order without having to enter their payment information, and instead have them swipe their EBT card on the day of pickup or process an offline EBT voucher. A very basic way of doing this that some of our partners have been using is to have customers fill out a Google form. And I'll note that the National Young Farmers Coalition has a guide to direct sales platforms. And I'll link to it in the notes that we send out so you can access that. It shows a comparison of different online sales platforms that you can use, and it appears that most of them allow you to accept an order from someone who wants to pay with EBT later. And again, make sure that it's clear to the customer how they can make the order and then pay later. Whether that's, on pickup, a staff member will come to their car to swipe their card, or upon pickup, they have to go to the information booth to swipe their card, or whatnot. And then speaking of EBT offline vouchers, you'll want to be prepared for when your point of sale device breaks or loses service. So you'll want to have those offline vouchers on hand. They're paper vouchers that you write in the card number and the customer name and your food and nutrition service number, and then call it in and process it. And if you operate a farm stand, I recommend ensuring that customers can easily figure out how much quantities or items will cost. So consider showing examples of amounts and the price instead of just the price per pound, so that customers can calculate how much they can buy of each item. And this will serve all of your customers, especially those who might be newer to farm direct settings and more used to the prepackaged produce in grocery stores. All right, and some more suggestions include applying to become WIC and Senior EBT, WIC and Senior FMNP authorized. So WIC is a health and nutrition program for women, infants, and children. They provide checks every summer for buying fruits and vegetables at farmers markets. It's called the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, or FMNP. And area agencies on aging also give out checks like this to seniors. So it's the same authorization to accept both WIC and Senior FMNP. And we have a brief guide on our website on how to get authorized, or you can visit wicfarmers.ca.gov. That's where the application is. And then lastly, I'll note something to think about is, have you written into your market rules or agreements any language about welcoming and respect for all customers and vendors? This might help lay the foundation for a more inclusive and accessible space for all. Oh, and just to note that at the top left is just what a WIC FMNP voucher looks like. So of course, with all of these efforts that I've suggested, you'll need to consider the financial viability and staffing requirements with them. And another really great way to make customers with EBT feel welcome and incentivize them to come to your site are incentive programs, which means those customers get extra money to spend or a discount. Often at a farmer's market, a customer might use $10 of EBT and then get $20 to spend at the market. At a farm stand or a CSA or mobile market, this might look like just a discount for customers using EBT. Some farmers markets and other farm direct sites are able to apply for grants or fundraise in order to fund a program. One way to receive funding is through Market Match, which is administered through the Ecology Center. And exciting announcement is that we're looking for new Market Match partners right now. So if your site has had EBT access for at least a year or one operation season, then I encourage you to apply. The link is up on the slide, marketmatch.org/become a partner. You'll find the application instructions, a link to the application, and lots more information there. And just to note that it is a competitive application process, and we're looking for sites that do have staff capacity to fulfill the administration requirements, and looking for sites in areas of high need. And the deadline to apply for this year is April 26th. You can also reach out to us if you have any questions about that. All right, so I just threw a lot of information at you in a short amount of time, so I'll pause here for any questions. Feel free to type into the chat if you haven't already. Oh, or someone's raising their hand. All right, I will unmute you. Or actually, I'm sorry.
I just unmuted myself.
Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. For some reason I can't. Oh, Oscar. Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yes. Question. So I have currency for all the markets in the form of $1 token, and it sounds like one of my markets is getting more. It's getting busier with EBT customers. Would it be recommended to get tokens that are of higher value, as for example $5 or $10? Is there such thing? One of the reasons I'm asking is because I know obviously customers cannot get any cash back, and if there's higher value on tokens, then they have to be forced to spend the whole amount at one booth. So how does that work for some other managers if they have any experience dealing with it?
That is a good question. I'm not sure, actually. I would be happy to hear from other market managers. I don't think I've talked to many market managers that have the higher value tokens. I think, yeah. it's nice to give, yeah, the option for EBT customers. Yeah, if you're giving them $1 tokens, then yeah, I would say that's nice because then they can spend their tokens at multiple vendors instead of, yeah, having to spend a larger sum at just one. Um, but yeah, I would love to hear if anyone else has experience with that.
Hi, this is Cornelia from Lake County. We've
Courtney.
been accepting and matching EBT for 9 years, and I would recommend not using anything larger than $1 because it's already a challenge to get all the vendors to round up or round down their prices to make it easier for customers to shop. Um, and I think I've been successful in getting people to mark their prices by the each instead of by the pound. And those that do sell by the pound, they usually give EBT customers a little bit extra to make sure that they don't get or feel gypped in any way. And that will be even harder with since we can't accept change with something larger than $1.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Cornelia. That's really good to hear that experience. Um, Lucy or Heidi, any questions from the chat that are burning?
Um, yes, so I wanted to bring in some of the questions that have come up during our time so far in case people were, like didn't have a chance to see them because, the chat's going and that we're also learning from you orally too. So I wanted to bring in the question about how long the application takes, just because I saw with the poll that there was a significant number of you who have not been EBT authorized. So we don't have as much information about the FNS application because this wasn't an intro thing, but we want to meet your needs. And so the question was, how long does it take to go through the FNS application to be EBT or SNAP authorized? And Heidi answered that in the chat as 2 months, around 2 months. And we also recognize that these other processes of setting up how you're going to accept EBT and the model, the script, that takes time internally to go through. And so we really recommend that step-by-step guide that we have at ecologycenter.org/EBT, which goes through each of those steps. And I'm trying to look through our questions that came through to figure, well, there was a question about, is the market match application open for farm stands and CSAs? And that's yes. We also had a note from Kathleen that it was recommended to her by community farm worker groups that when you're thinking about language and translation, to be aware that languages like Mixteco and other indigenous languages that are spoken in her area, to focus on descriptive images rather than relying on text. And so that visual guide on CalFresh EBT cards can pay for, which was developed by the San Luis Obispo County CalFresh Healthy Living Office, was really great. And they shared that resource with us, which put up on the slide, which showed what kind of foods can be purchased with the SNAP card at the farmer's market, since they encountered that exact issue and wanted something visual. So thanks for sharing that. And Kathleen, oh, can't figure out how to raise my hand, like to ask a question. Yeah, you want to unmute yourself?
Hi, yeah, thank you. So I don't actually work for a market, but I work for a nonprofit organization, and we provide a lot of food and health resources to students and their families. And I've used your Ecology Center map tracker of the farm markets, and I'm just really interested to know if there are any other resources that contain comprehensive information about what places accept EBT, WIC, the issue that I'm running into is that within the one county that we work in, we're familiar with it, so we know it pretty well. But as we're expanding into other counties, a lot of times it's hard to find that information. So I'm just wondering if you would be able to share any other resources that you've used in building the map, because we'd like to build a comprehensive one for our organization within the counties we work in Ventura, Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we use a combination. The California Department of Social Services tracks which farm direct sites have EBT. So we get a list from them. And there's also, I don't have access to the links to them right now, but I could send them out after. There are a couple websites that track like all SNAP authorized sites, not just farm direct ones. So, corner stores, grocery stores, etc., as well, that I could send you as well. And just a note, if any of you check fmfinder.org, Farmers Market Finder, and don't see your site or your site is out of date, please reach out to us and we'll update it or add it. Cool. Okay, well, I might pause on the questions so we have time for breakouts. I'm going to split you up into some groups of about 8 or so, so you can have time to ask each other questions and share successes and challenges with each other. And there's going to be too many of us to have an ecology center facilitator in each group. So just please try to allow everyone who wants to speak. And here I've written down some discussion questions that could spark your conversation, or maybe you have some other questions that you want to talk about. So feel free to start thinking about these. And Lucy, I think, is going to share a link to a Google Doc in the chat. And this is, everyone can have access to this and add your notes from your discussions. Feel free to add extra questions or ideas here. I'd love to try to record your ideas so that we can learn from them and share them. And just to note, oops, oh, sorry, I accidentally advanced the slide. Just to note, I'll close the rooms. I think we'll have about 10 minutes. So I'll close the rooms at about 9:50. All right, and bear with me as I set these up. So we have about okay. So I'm going to open the rooms and you should get a notification on your screen to join. Hello, welcome back. Hopefully I didn't cut too many of you off. I wish we had more time. But yeah, thanks you all. I hope you had some engaging conversations, and I would love to hear some highlights. So now at any point, feel free to add to the chat anything you learned or more questions that came up. If you would like to share out loud, you can click the raise your hand button and I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself, I'll call out. To access the raise your hand button, if you open the participants panel, there should be a raise your hand button at the bottom of that panel.
Well, I'll just say one of the big questions from our group, which was group 4, was how to, for folks who've had EBT for years and maybe have struggled to get customers into the market, how to bring customers into the market, like what are some good strategies for that? And then if one of the strategies is an incentives program, bringing an incentives program in, is the kind of lack of engagement from customers earlier on going to be an issue when applying for market match?
Mm-hmm. Great questions. So yeah, I mean, I think trying to reach customers with EBT where they are is a really great strategy, and definitely talking to your local Department of Social Services, local CalFresh offices. Maybe you'd be able to, do outreach through them. So give them flyers for your market or farm stand CSA to try to reach those customers where they are. And yeah, definitely any sort of, coupon program, if you don't have, the full capacity or funding for an incentive program, offering maybe like a one-time coupon to first-time customers is a great way to get people in. And then, yeah, lack of EBT customer base. For Market Match, the Market Match application, we will be looking to see, about how many customers you've had with your program. But, I think having Market Match definitely brings more customers in. So we'll be considering other factors as well. Any other comments or questions? I can still, spend some more time answering questions too.
And thanks for typing in some of your best practices or discussion into this shared document. I see some people are doing that now. So I think this could be a cool resource to look at what are the challenges and what are some of the strategies that people are using. Because we have a really wide range of experience in the room.
Let's see. I see a question about point of sale software that's compatible with accepting EBT. Yeah, there are quite a few. So in California, certified farmers markets and farm direct sites are eligible for a free EBT point of sale device, and that device processes EBT only. But if you do want a device that can process EBT, debit, and credit, then there are quite a few options out there. I think Clover is one, or MarketLink has a program, Total Pay Go. I can add a link in our notes when we send them out to some more options. And if any of you have a program that you really like that works well for your market, feel free to add that here too. For resources on opening a new farmers market, you could go to the California Alliance of Farmers Markets. That's farmersmarketalliance.org. And they have a lot of resources on opening a new market. Just look back through the chat.
I have a suggestion about opening a new market. Before you do that, it's not like build it and they will come. You have to find farmers first. Without farmers, there are no farmers markets. And I find that a lot of people are really excited about bringing fresh food to the community and put a lot of time and expense into trying to make that happen, and then close real quickly because there just are no vendors, or they become a non-farmers market focused market, which is not really what they had intended to be in the first place. And the best place I would start is go to your local ag department. The ag commissioner will give you a list of local producers or producers that are within a certain um, geographical area. So I would start there first because you do want to have the focus be on farmers.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that.
We had a couple other questions that were earlier on in the chat that we didn't get to. I don't know if we need to end right now. It's 10, or if we have a couple minutes to spill over. But
I have a couple minutes to spill over, so that's okay with me. But if any of you need to leave, that's totally fine. I'll just put up our contact information if you do need to head out, but I can stay a couple extra minutes to answer any other questions.
And we'll include the Q&A in our follow-up notes too. So one of the questions was asking about adding farm stand or CSA program to fmfinder.org. I think for that one, just let us know. And we'll add it for you. And as I mentioned earlier in the chat, it's definitely helpful for us if you check the information that's in the FM Finder for your sites and let us know if it's out of date, because it's a lot of sites. So we try to stay on top of it, but we know some things can get out of date or locations and times can change. So we had another question. Do you have any resources or advice about educating / reminding users about the correct use of what they can buy, and educating and reminding vendors? For that, we do have some templates, some outreach templates. The other suggestion about keeping things visual, that's helpful. And I know we have some Napa people here. I've seen a really great flyer that they've made that had pictures of the types of food that you can use with your EBT card versus what you can use if you have Market Match. And it can help if the vendors have signs at their booths as well about EBT, because yeah, the customers and the vendors can sometimes get confused about what the EBT can be used for. And we had a question about the farmers markets I sell at do not accept EBT and have no intention to start offering EBT. Can I apply and accept EBT at my farmers markets, even if my market does not accept EBT? So it sounds like that's a question of, can an individual vendor just do EBT if the overall market doesn't?
As far as I understand it, you know, if a farmer's market refuses to accept EBT, any farmer can actually take it. But both of them cannot take it at the same time, which is one of the regulations. So it's either the market takes it or the vendors take it. That's as far as I understand.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure if there are regulations on that. We could look into that. But definitely if a farmer's market does not have an EBT program, then any individual vendor that is selling eligible foods can apply for food and nutrition service authorization. And then you could, if you're a farmer, you're eligible for the free point of sale device from the state. So you could accept EBT cards, swipe them at your booth, and that money would go directly to your bank account. So I think I might pause here, and if there are any other burning questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And yeah, give us feedback, ask questions. We can offer more assistance to you. And yeah, I just want to say thank you all so much for coming today and for participating. And I hope that you gained some insights. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Have a great rest of your Friday.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.